What is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Welcome back to episode 7 of the AlltheMods10 playthrough. I want to start out the video by saying thank you to all the new subscribers, the people liking the videos, all the viewership, and dropping some comments. It's greatly appreciated and it makes me want to continue to make more videos for you guys. If you've been following the series, welcome back. I appreciate you following the adventure we've been on so far. And if you're new to the channel, welcome and thank you for watching. Feel free to check out the previous episodes to catch up on all the progress leading up to this point. In this episode, we're going to be doing a variety of things such as creating a wireless universal terminal, killing the warden, upgrading our mob farm, venturing into the other for smithing templates and the piglet heart, dipping into getting some source from Ars Noveau, and starting our auto crafting, and a lot more. I'd like to thank you again for clicking on the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and any comment or feedback is always greatly appreciated. Now let's get into the video. So to start off, I wanted to craft some speed upgrades for our sawmill because I saw it was moving very slowly. After placing those in, we headed over to the mob farm to place down another spawner. I then wanted to go over to the end stronghold to loot up some chests so we can maybe find some more capacitors. And we ended up finding a whole bunch of loot that was going to help us throughout the playthrough. And we did end up finding some better capacitors to upgrade our alloy smelter. We found this cool shadow glaive relic. Basically what it does is whenever you deal damage, it has a chance to shoot out a projectile to nearby enemies. I thought it was pretty cool, so I decided to put it on. I then was looking around for a good spot to hang up this new banner that we got. And I ended up just sticking it on the mob farm. We switched out that better capacitor that we looted from the stronghold and switched it out in our alloy smelter. Then I wanted to grind down a bunch of ores into dust to test out how much faster the alloy smelter was. And I noticed a pretty significant difference in the speed. I then wanted to go find some UNOBTANIUM, so it was time to go venture out to the end. While I was here, I harvested up quite a bit of prosperity because we were running pretty low. And I threw an ender pearl through this portal to start exploring. We harvested up some chorus so we could use it for our mob farm. And after a little bit of looking, we ended up finding our first pieces of UNOBTANIUM. I then stumbled across this end castle and wanted to kind of explore and see what was around in the area, and ended up coming across this big old golem boss that had like 5,000 hearts, so I decided to come back and try to fight him later. And the golem definitely hit me with that 1-2 combo, so I decided to take a tactical retreat back to the base, and I would come back for my revenge at a later time. I then wanted to be able to grow the nether star seeds that we crafted in the last episode, but we needed that nether star crux, which required me to have another withering soul. So I had to kill the wither a couple more times to try to get that drop, and then we were going to be able to craft our nether crux. And once we got the drop, we were able to craft it. We went over to our farm and planted it down in the ground, placed some dirt on top of it with some red fertilizer, and we were able to plant our nether star seeds. We crafted up some emerald seeds because I noticed we didn't have any. And we threw them down over at the farm. I then needed to build a pattern access terminal and a pattern encoding terminal for our autocraft setup. And then it was time to make a bunch of patterns. Once the patterns were made, we started throwing them into our pattern providers down at our autocrafting setup. And then threw in some acceleration cards into the molecular assemblers to make our autocrafting faster. We went back over to the mob farm and placed down 2 more spawners. And we added chorus fruit to the spawners to make the mobs that spawned pretty much brain dead. Then we added some nether stars to the spawners to make it so the mobs would ignore players. After crafting up some more patterns, I wanted to get started on building the wireless universal terminal. And to do that, I needed a wireless crafting terminal and a wireless pattern encoding terminal. So we crafted up some energy cells, some dense energy cells, and we were able to make the wireless crafting terminal. Then once we had the crafting terminal and the pattern encoding terminal done, we just put them both in the crafting table and we had a universal terminal. I had a little bit of ADHD brain and made these redstone comparators for our mob farm. And we went over to the mob farm and added them to the spawners to make all of the spawners redstone controlled. We then crafted a redstone pen. Then we went back to crafting the dimension card for the wireless access point so we could access our wireless universal terminal from anywhere. So we crafted up these lumium gears. Made some platinum seeds and some lead seeds so we could make the enderium ingots. Then we threw that in the alloy smelter and got all the enderium ingots that we needed. And once those were finished, we were able to craft all of the infinity range boosters that we needed. Then we put those back in the crafting table and were able to make the dimension card. So we slotted that in the wireless access point and linked our wireless universal terminal to it, so now we could access our entire ME system and our entire inventory from anywhere. Then the ADHD brain went back to the mob spawners and connected them all with a redstone pen and added a lever to make them all redstone controlled. Then we went the extra mile to craft a redstone remote so we could turn the mob farm on and off from outside of the farm. We switched around some cabling because we were having some link issues, and then it was time to go back to the ancient city to go kill the warden. He didn't put up too much of a fight, and we were able to kill a couple of them. Then we went back to the base and placed down the Warden and the Wither trophies to kind of add to some decoration on our house. I then started looking at the progress tree and started getting a little bit curious on how we made the UNOBTANIUM and AlltheMods10 alloy ingots, and saw that one of the items that we needed was actually in the other. So that's where I decided I would go next. And the place we needed to go was the ancient pyramid, so I started making my way towards that. On our way there, we found this little poison pit. I'm not sure what that was. And eventually we made it to the pyramid. Now this big old dude was the guy we had to kill because we needed his heart for one of the items that was needed to make those alloy ingots. And after a while, I was able to kill 2 of them. And there were a ton of mobs inside of this pyramid. It was absolutely ridiculous. Like, this was just absolute chaos. I was losing my mind in here. Thanks to our wireless universal terminal, we were able to drop a bunch of the loot that we picked up into our ME system. I broke as many spawners as I could find and just kept on looting as much as I could. Eventually we made it to the heart of the pyramid, and there was a ton of wither skeletons and some netherite blocks and a ton of loot, so we decided to hang out here for a bit, destroy the spawners, and collect all that juicy loot. I then went over and found another one of these dudes, and I wanted to steal his heart, so I decided to beat him up for a little bit. And the next thing I wanted to do was go to the dungeon in the other, because that is where we were going to get an UNOBTANIUM smithing template. Let me tell you, this place was not for the faint of heart. There were an absolute ton of mobs up on the surface. And then as I started digging down, there was a ridiculous amount of evokers and vindicators literally everywhere, and made it so hard to get around anywhere. So as I ran around and explored a little bit, I was just destroying all the spawners that I could find, because the amount of mobs that were down here was just absolutely ridiculous. Eventually we ended up making it to the library and the trial spawner that we needed to get the UNOBTANIUM smithing template. But I actually ended up dying, and I wasn't really sure if I had killed the last evoker that I needed for the trial to get the template or not, so I went around until I found another one. This time I made sure that I actually got the template. And it was time to get out of this place. We snagged up one more spawner from the other dimension, so we placed that wither skeleton spawner down and hooked it up with everything else, and that one was good to go. The mob farm was pretty much where I wanted it to be at this point. We also turned all of the nuggets that we got from the other into ingots. And we upgraded our sword and one piece of armor to UNOBTANIUM. I then wanted to start diving into the Ars Noveau mod, so I looked around for these vexing archwood logs and a couple of the other Ars Noveau logs that were in the area. We crafted up our first novice spellbook. We then converted some of these logs into planks. We went ahead and crafted our first imbuement chamber, which we were going to use to convert lapis into source gems. We crafted up some source jars to hold the source that we would get, and crafted up some source stone as we would need it to craft some of the other components. We crafted an enchanting apparatus, some arcane pedestals, and then an arcane core to pair with our enchanting apparatus. We then needed to create this source gem block for the ritual brazier. And we got our little ritual altar set up. So as far as farming source, I wasn't exactly sure how to approach this. I tried looking at a couple different videos to see how I wanted to do it, but still didn't get a very clear picture. So I kind of went with a sort of similar setup to how we did the mystical agriculture farm. So basically what I did was I have the sourceberry farm here. I threw down some growth accelerators to speed up the process of them growing. Not sure if this actually worked or not, but it seemed like it did. I threw a harvester pylon down in the middle on the water block. Threw a barrel on top of that to collect all the source berries. Threw down a modular router on top of that with some upgrades in it, and had all of the source berries that the modular router collected go straight to that arcane pedestal you just saw. I threw down a mycelial source link right next to it so it would absorb all of the source berry into liquid source, and I threw down a source jar right next to it to collect all the source. We then place the agronomic source link on top of the farm with some source jars next to it to collect all the source that way. So we have two different ways of collecting source right now. And then automation is my favorite, so I wanted to find a way to convert the lapis into the source gems without me really having to do much. So we threw down some crystal resonance generators at the farm, dropped a hopper on top of the imbuement chamber, used some pipe to route down into a barrel, used a blacklist to make it so only source gems would come out of the pipe, and then realized that didn't work, and I actually had to put it on whitelist instead of the blacklist. This is me kind of troubleshooting that process. This is while it was on the blacklist, and I ended up switching it to the whitelist. And then as you can see here, there's lapis going in at the top. It's turning into source gem, and then it's going into that barrel. We then hooked that barrel up to the rest of our ME system and attached an import bus to it. Then we added some acceleration cards to make the transfer to our ME system pretty much instant. Now, I'm not sure how ideal this setup is because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to Ars Noveau. This is just what made sense to me at the time, but if there's anybody who knows a better way to do this, please let me know in the comment section, refer me something. I just want to make sure I'm doing this the most efficient way as possible because I know that I'm going to need a good amount of source in the near future. But after this, I kind of just tinker around with how everything's set up, switch out some of the source jars to replace them with full ones, and yeah. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the video. I want to say thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody who watches, everybody who has liked and subscribed in the past couple days. It's been absolutely insane. You guys have been nuts. Thank you for the feedback on the last videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I won't take up any more of your time, but one more time, thank you again so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one.